Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Malts and Meeples and the top 100 games of all time, 2023 edition. And we are on numbers 70 through 61. So, getting close to finishing out the bottom half of the top 100. But, take a sip of my old fashioned. Let's jump into it. Let's see what games made 70 through 61. Starting at number 70 with a party game. And last time I had a couple of cooperative party games. This one, not so much, but Medium is an absolute blast of a party game, one that I really enjoy. In this game, two people, and you kind of rotate around, so everybody has an even number, are trying to match up, sync up with each other. Each of them plays out a card. One person plays out one first, the other one plays out one from their hand next. And the players are trying to get the word that connects those two. So, somebody might put out goose, and I put out duck. So, okay, bird probably is the easy answer for connecting those two. But I could say fowl, Fowl, because that makes sense as well. So now we might have the other person having said bird, I said fowl. Now we have to connect those two words. And you're trying to do it as quickly as possible. You get 3 tries, and you get points based off of how quickly you do it. And generally we go around like 2-3 times. Everybody gets a few chances, probably 3 times, so everybody gets a decent number of chances. And it's always a blast because, like I gave that example, it's real simple, but how you connect taco and goose, that's a little bit trickier. So I really enjoy that game just for the goofiness of kind of what you can connect, plus then trying to come up with words that can connect, because goose taco, a little bit tricky. And sometimes you go in a completely different direction than the person you're trying to get in sync with for it. So that can be funny. And it's one of those games where if I wasn't the person trying to come up with how goose taco worked, then it excuse me, then I probably would come up with something immediately, because that's how Medium works. It's only when it's not your turn that you immediately come up with like, oh, I know the perfect answer to connect these, and you're just waiting for everybody else to try and connect it as well. It's a good goofy party game. Then at 69 we have a solo only game, Under Falling Skies. Under Falling Skies I like to call a combination of Space Invaders, because you're defending Earth against aliens that are coming down, and they move kind of in a path, so kind of Space Invader like. They have their lanes that they move down in. But then also Independence Day, because you're trying to research enough to be able to send up basically something to destroy the mothership, which, I mean, that's very Independence Day. To do this, you're doing it through dice placement. You'll roll dice, and you have to put one in each lane. Now, those dice can be used for different things. It might be to send out an attack ship to blow up some of the smaller alien ships that are coming down. Or it might be to research, or since most everything requires power, it might be getting more power. And so the higher number on the dice, the faster you can research. The more ships that you can blow up, the more power that you can get. The downside is the higher number you use, the faster in that lane the ships move down. So it's a balancing act of trying to like line up ships to be able to be taken out, but also not having them come all the way down to Earth, because when they do, that pushes forward one of the losing conditions. Really fun game, pretty simple once you're into it, but one that I don't beat all that often, which is what I look for in a good solo game. At 68, we're going to have another party game. And I'm trying to look. I think this is the last party game, at least in this section of the list. 68, we have Blank Slate. Blank Slate is a fun party game because it encourages some creativity. And the moments where everybody's trying to be creative and nobody matches are great. You're going to have a blank followed by a word. So it might be truck blank, and you have to fill in whatever word you think makes sense. Truck stop, truck nuts, whatever it might be. And if you match with more than one person, everybody who matches gets a point. If you match with only one person, both you and that other person get 3 points. So you're trying to come up with something that's a little bit obscure, but not too obscure. This is a party game that I mean, it's in Target. It's, I'm assuming, sold decently well because of that, but not one that I hear talked about in terms of like a fun, good, just a good party game. So I really enjoy Blank Slate. Plus, it plays out of the box up to 10, I want to say, which works surprisingly well. At 10, it can overstay the welcome a little bit. You have to be a little bit more creative and hope that only one other person has, because it could slow down scoring with mainly just people getting 1 point at a time. But you can also, with basically any party game, just decide when to end and end it earlier or later, and whoever's leading at that point wins. I feel like that's kind of how a lot of party games work anyways. At number 67, we have a bag building, push your luck, creating your crazy quack potion to heal whatever might ail you in Quacks of Quedlinburg. Quacks of Quedlinburg, another one I'm read. Like, this one is a good, like, gateway, just fun game experience, which everyone can get into. And you can put as much effort into it as you want to try and set up the optimal play, or you can just hope that you're really lucky and really push that luck to draw out your tokens, because you're filling up your cauldron with those ingredients that you're drawing out. Some of them, the just plain old regular ingredients, the white ones, if you get too many of those, too many points worth on those, you're going to bust. And if you bust, well, it's not the end of the world, but it does hurt you a little bit. Because if you stop without busting, you get both your points and your money. So you can buy more ingredients to put in your bag for the next time you're drawing stuff out, and you go up on the point track. But if you bust, you only get one or the other. But if you're the furthest around without having busted, the highest number of points for that round, you also get an added bonus. So there's this little bit of desire to push your luck. Plus, as you're watching other players and everybody's drawing from their bags at the same time, you're thinking like, but they're getting further ahead. I have to risk it just to see if I can start to catch up. And yeah, it's fun. The different ingredients you do all have like special powers, which are a lot of fun. So yeah, Quacks of Quedlinburg. Every time I do this list, I'm just like, oh yeah, I want to play that game again. And talking about Quacks of Quedlinburg, I'm like, yep, I want to play that game again. Then at, let me remember the number, 66, we have a cooperative game. And this was one of the games where I clumped everything together for that game, and that's going to be Pandemic. I have the picture of Pandemic Legacy Season 1 because that's my favorite way to play Pandemic. I think Season 1 was the best experience out of the two Legacy ones that I've played, though both of them are a lot of fun. I haven't done Season 0 yet. I don't know when I will. I want to, but I need to figure out a group for that. And Pandemic is just about trying to stop diseases. Now, Pandemic Legacies, they add more to it, and they have story and things that develop, new rules that are added to the game, all sorts of new things. So those are the better experiences. Base Pandemic, I don't really want to play anymore, but Pandemic Legacy Season 1, I'd go and play that one again because I just like that one a lot. I've played it twice already, and I'm kind of itching to play it again. Same with Pandemic Legacy Season 2 and Season 0. I would love to just make that, maybe I'll make that something I do this winter. Just sit down, play Pandemic. Could be fun. But this also then would include other things, like I have the World of Warcraft Pandemic. I haven't played the whole way through on my copy, but I had most of a game demo a few years ago at Pop-Up Gen Con here locally. And it's fun. And I kind of like the different IPs on it. The World of Warcraft, the Star Wars on there, just because it feels different. It's not dealing with the disease at that point. So my number 66 is Pandemic. Number 65, another game that I would consider mainly to be a solo gaming experience. It's not. You can do it actually competitively, cooperatively, or solo, and that is Skytier Horde. Skytier Horde is kind of a lane defender, tower defender, as you are dealing with a horde that is coming through, and you're using your troops basically to block that up, to take down the enemy's tower before they can take out your city. And as you're taking out their tower, knocking them down, that gives you additional purchase power to be able to put out more troops, but also then gets them closer to bringing out kind of the boss of their horde. It's a fun, it's just a fun solo experience that I think works really well. 2-player cooperative I actually think works decently well as well, but I feel like my decision-making space as a 2-player game is noticeably less than as a solo game, because it's not necessarily the most complex tower defense game out there. Actually, it's more complex than some of the other ones I played, but it's not the most complex. And yeah, it's easy enough to play 2 different groups, or to take your one team up and fight against the enemy. And yeah, this is one that I've backed the new stuff that is coming as well, and I'm excited for that to come in. And another one that now, as I'm talking about, I'm like, man, I really want to pull that out. Maybe that will be one of the solo games that I stream coming up here. I'm probably going to say that with a number of games. It's 64. Yeah, 64. Another cooperative game. And I'm actually not set up to be able to show it off like I normally would, because I have a wall with all the minis yet to be painted for it, for Marvel United. Marvel United is just a fun, simple game. It's I'm going to beat up the bad guy, and let's see what happens. Of course, not all bad guys can you just beat up, and you can't beat up the bad guys right away. But you're taking in your superheroes, you're dealing with the thugs, you're rescuing the bystanders, you're fighting the henchmen or stopping a plot. And once you've done enough of like rescuing bystanders, defeating the thugs, or stopping plots, defeating henchmen, you can then face off against the main bad guy. Well, potentially. Again, it depends on the bad guy you're up against. But what I love about this game, two things actually. The first thing is that all the villains are somewhat different. That there's, well, three things. Some of them are you're just shooting to beat them up. Others have more complex schemes that maybe don't even allow you to tackle some of the options right away until certain conditions are met. So that's fun. I love that there's a ton of different heroes for it. And as you're playing as heroes, you're playing out a card and you're taking the actions on that card. But then the person who follows you up can use your actions as well as their actions for their turn. So you can create kind of these chains of awesome turns. Like, maybe I don't have an ideal turn, but if I give you a move and a punch, you're set up for a huge turn. And balancing that out, working together, that cooperative nature of playing superheroes who are part of a superhero team. And then I love that the game is very simple to get to the table. I need to get to the table more often. I actually need to finish sleeving up the Marvel X-Men stuff, and the same with the villains. But generally you grab a villain, you're like, okay, grab the villain deck, you grab your heroes, you grab the hero decks, and then all you're setting up is the town, like the area that you're fighting through, and the villain dashboard. You can get going even with having 200 plus minis in 5 minutes. And you play 20 minutes, maybe 30. You're like, oh, I want to play again, but I want to play a different character. Under 5 minutes, you're ready to go with a new character. So Marvel United is great that way. Number 63, we're going to a much bigger game, much more confrontational, in-your-face game with Lords of Hellas. Lords of Hellas is an area control type of game, fighting monsters, building up towers, statues, all sorts of things. So this is one that it's a little bit tricky to get to the table, just because, I mean, there's a lot to the game. And also the game's a little bit messy. I don't necessarily find all Awakened Realms games to be that messy. I think that a lot of people complain about that, and a lot of them are a whole lot cleaner than I think they say. But Lords of Hellas, definitely a little bit messy. But you start out and you're looking to win in one of 4 ways, I believe, to control enough temples, to defeat enough wandering monsters, to be the one holding the territory after a tower has been built, or to control 2 larger groups. And each character, each leader kind of has their own thing that they're a little bit better at. But as you go, you're drafting new, unique, special powers to you. And yeah, the game just, it feels grand, it feels epic, and it feels like everything is close. When I played it most recently, I think there were 5 of us, and one person was like 2 turns away from winning. The rest of us were 1 turn away from winning when the game ended. So, like, it worked really well. It's, like I said, it is a bit messy just because there's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces. Having 4 different ways to win is going to be a little bit tricky. But when you get into it, It's not that bad, and it is a ton of fun, and it makes you feel cool as you play it. At number 62, a new game to the list, a new game out this year, Spellbook. Spellbook from Space Cowboys and Phil Walker Harding. This is a game about casting spells, kind of. Also about feeding your familiar with different spell ingredients. All of these things get you points, but the game is one of those thinky but snappy games. You go on your turn, your choices are fairly well laid out. You have 3 different phases of the day. So in morning, you can either trigger a card or a spell that's a day ability, or you can draw ingredients. During the day, you can either feed your familiar or trigger a card that is a day ability. And in the evening, you can either cast a spell or you can forget what it is. Oh, obviously, it's always the same. You can trigger a card that's an evening ability. So you're always going through this fairly simple line of actions. You basically do 3 things each day, and you pick one of the 2 from each section. Where it gets interesting is how you cast or when you cast your spells. Because you might look at the combinations of spell powers and be like, okay, I want to get this morning one going first. Because if I get this morning one going, now once you've cast it, you can always cast it again. You don't have to pay the materials once you know the spell. I guess it's less you're casting the spell, it's more that you're learning the spell. The whole thing is called Spellbook after all. So you're learning the spells at different levels. And the levels basically, generally they give you more points. Sometimes they're better at higher levels. But you're looking to figure out like what combination of how I cast things do I want to create my chain of spells. If I get this one cast first, does that then set me up to collect material to cast another one? And another one after that, and I can kind of chain them together in a particular order, or maybe I just want to go for this one that helps me feed my familiar faster, and I want to push for the end game that way. A lot of fun, like little puzzles that way, and it's nice that it comes with 3 different sets of spells, so everybody is playing the same puzzle of spells, but you can change up that puzzle for a group. And then at number 61, we have a game that feels like a roll and write, but is not a roll and write. Draftosaurus. Draftosaurus with little wooden dinosaurs. Tom Bassel would hate this. Dinosaur meeples, because meeple is people, and so dinosaur meeples they're just dinosaurs. Little wooden dinosaurs. Anyways, from that tangent, you are drafting, I believe it is a dinosaur from your hand. Maybe it's 2. I forget, it's been a little bit. Pretty sure it's just 1. You draft 1 dinosaur from your hand. You're going to add it to your board. You pass your hand of dinosaurs to the next person. You're getting a new hand. You pick one from that. And you do that as you're filling up your board with these dinosaurs, and they score in different ways. You might have a pen where if it's all different dinosaurs, it scores you points, or another one where each pair of dinosaurs scores you a point. And for the most part, you can place them where you want to, kind of. If it's your turn, you can place it anywhere on your board. And turn just kind of means whoever has the ability to place it anywhere on their board. Otherwise, you're rolling a die, and that die tells you, okay, you're putting it on the top half, the bottom half, the left half, the right half, and maybe it is split diagonally as well. I forget. Obviously, it's a 6-sided die, which is why not obviously, but it is a 6-sided die, which is why I was talking about that. having multiple directions to go, but basically you're locked into a specific side. So as you're drafting, you know what you're kind of drafting for. It's like, well, I can't get to the section where it's all different types of dinosaurs, so that's going to influence what I pick. Or I can't complete a pair of dinosaurs because it's on the wrong side of things, so let's see what works for other areas. But that takes us through 61. And Draftosaurus, very light game, like 20 minutes. And I think it plays 4. Easy to just reset, play again. Very fun that way. So let's do a quick run through of all of them again. Number 70, we have a party game, Medium, where you and your partner are trying to match up on the word that connects the 2 words that you have played out. Or if you didn't come up with the same word, connecting the 2 words that you just said. Good for a lot of laughs, thinkier than a lot of party games, but really simple to play. At number 69, we're going to have Under Falling Skies, a solo game that is a mashup of Space Invaders and Independence Day, as well as dice placement and kind of manipulation, but dice placement and strategy around that. At number 68, we have Blank Slate, another party game where you are filling in a blank. So blank something or something blank, and you are trying to match up with one other person to score the most points you can, or multiple people just so that you're getting some points. It's a game of trying to be obscure, but not too obscure. At number 67, we're going to have Quacks of Quedlinburg. This is a bag building, push your luck game of trying to brew your quack potion that will certainly help cure baldness. Clearly, they should trust you. But sometimes your potion just kind of blows up in your face. And fun push your luck game. At 66, we have Pandemic. And this picture is Pandemic Legacy. Any form of Pandemic falls into this group. I really enjoy them. It's a game of trying to cure diseases. And the 2 legacies that I've done, Pandemic Legacy Season 1, Pandemic Legacy 2, are some of the best gaming experiences that I've had. Then at 65, we have Skytier Horde, a tower defense, lane defense game against a horde that is coming to attack you, and you're playing out troops to try and stop it. Can you take down their tower basically before they take down yours? Again, it's more than just a solo game, but I like it probably best at solo. At 64, we have Marvel United, game of taking heroes up against the enemy, but super fast to the table, and it's a great superhero game in that you really do work together. The actions on the card that you play down are also actions that the person who plays the next hero card can use, and you can use the actions off the hero card that was previously played as well. And if you're like me, you have over 200 heroes, villains, and anti-heroes to play with. Then, at number 63, we have Lords of Hellas, an area control, fighting monsters, dudes on a map, big game from Awakened Realms that it's probably its strongest point is it gives you 4 ways to win. And each of them is equally as viable and almost equally as fun. I do think potentially fighting monsters is the most fun, but that's only because you're fighting giant monsters with cool looking minis. At number 62, we have Spellbook, game of crafting or casting spells, learning spells so that you can cast them again to basically build an engine of spells that you can cast to either be the first to fill your spell book with the most points possible, of course, or to be the first to feed your familiar all the spell ingredients that it will need to lead a nice, happy, and full life. And finally, at number 61, we have Draftosaurus, a game of drafting dinosaurs and placing them into their dinosaur pens to score as many points as you can. A really fast, light, fun game around building out, like I said, your dinosaur zoo with wooden dinosaur meeples that just look great and give this game a nice tactile feel. But with that, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this was fun. In the comments, let me know which game is the one that you would like to try most, or your favorite from this list. And if you want to catch the next part, 8 p.m. on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central Time. On Wednesdays is when I am streaming these, so number 60 through 51, finishing off the bottom half of the top 100 next week. And obviously, a few more weeks to go through to get to my top 100, through my top 100, to get through that 10 to 1. So join me for those. There will always be Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central. There's a chance that the Wednesday before Thanksgiving I will skip, and it will just continue further into December. I also stream board games. I stream solo gameplays of campaign games. Normally, that's my normal thing on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central. Or on Mondays, I stream smaller solo games or faster solo games, one-off games, at 9 p.m. Central here on Malts and Meeples. The best way, though, to know when I go live is to subscribe and click that notification bell. That is going to let you know. And if you're enjoying the content, please give the video a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Like I said, I am curious to know which games people would enjoy the most on this list. And if you want to see the other content that I do, or read the other content, listen to the other content that I do, first, I have a website, nerdologist.com. The link is in the description below. I also have a podcast, 10 Minute Marvel, which, talk about Marvel things. Marvel United is pretty high on the list. There may be higher Marvel games to come as well. But with that, thank you again so much for watching. And see you next time. Bottoms up.